the red strap to the airplane, and pull really hard on it. Talk about a teachable moment. Inflate it upside down. It can happen. Something like a 2% chance in the statistics that it might inflate upside down. Get in the raft. Paula, come here. Come here. Okay, it's okay. It's okay. You've got this on wrong. We're going to put it on correctly, okay? Ready? Here we go. Strap around your waist. Here we go. Okay. All right, ready? Inflate your vest. Madame, stop! Madame, stop! Stop! Inflate your vest. Inflate your vest. Get to the raft. Inflate it. Get to the vest. And get to the raft. So what we have here is a successful evacuation into an Eastern Aero Marine life raft. This is a 7-man size. It's designed to handle 10 occupants as an overfill. I have to say, that there's an old stage thing, not that I know much about stage, but be careful about working with children or animals or life rafts, because we were under the impression this is going to be the more typical Eastern Aero Marine raft that you see, which does not normally have a canopy like this one does. This one looks a lot like the raft you just saw, but typically this brand does not look that way. This would be an advantage to this. So much like what Jeff just went through as far as survival kits, they're very, very similar. This raft does have some differences. Typically, without the canopy, it can be assembled either way, and there actually is a little survival kit bag inside that has a canopy that looks a little like a big tablecloth that you would spread over stakes inside of it. So this was the surprise to us. What did we really end up with? Did you even end up with a survival kit? Yes. My. What do we have in there? Surely have not seen this one.
She's so good.
They're working on opening it. One thing Jeff was talking about, all these wonderful survival devices that are in the kit, and how it can last for so long, that you're going to spend a week doing this, or maybe 2 weeks. And actually the requirement is that this device itself is sort of able to survive sea conditions for 2 weeks. None of us want to do that. And the bottom line, if you think about it, this isn't 50 years ago. It's very unusual to hear about large aircraft having deep ocean offshore type situations, right? When we hear about this, it's Miracle on the Hudson, thank God. It's going to be something that's near shore, usually an approach to landing or a takeoff kind of situation, so you're close to shore. But regardless, you still got to be conscious about how you're going to take care of these passengers. Just like Karen handled it, she got them all inflated in jackets and in the raft immediately, and that's critically important, that they're protected from the elements and they're kept together. Even if they have vests on, if they don't make it to a raft, chances are they may drift apart, and it is hard to swim in a vest, right? If any of you have done it in training, to just dog paddle in a vest is really tough. So getting the raft out is critically important. But to date, there's not been a corporate airplane that has landed in water where they've gotten the raft out. Different reasons. It's not so much they couldn't get it out, but generally you can imagine the heat of the moment. You need to get out of that airplane, and sometimes it gets forgotten. And you think, well, gosh, what are the opportunities? I mean, we're not doing deep ocean, but with more than 75% of airports worldwide having an overwater approach and takeoff, that's some pretty high percentages that you could possibly slide off that way. If you have a mechanical, if you have a bird strike, it happens. Generally about once a year, there's something pretty catastrophic like that, where the airplane is either lost, 370, or lands in the water. The latest corporate style one that I'm aware of was a west wind that went down in the ocean near Norfolk Island in the middle of the Pacific. It's north of New Zealand, south of New Caledonia. It's pretty much in the middle of nowhere, and it was going to be a fueling stop for a medical flight. Everything seemed normal. They had done everything due diligence, but as they approached their landing, their refueling stop at this island, the weather minimums dropped. They did an instrument approach, Darn, never saw the runway, couldn't land safely. Did another one. They keep starting to do the same approach. Can't see the runway, can't land that way, you've got to see the pavement. They said, you know, let's go the other way, the same runway, but because the light system is a little better, they did the other way, realized they still couldn't see it, and they reported to the base tower. They don't really have a tower there, but they reported, we decided we're going to ditch this airplane because it just isn't safe, we can't see the runway. Now remember, I said they went 2 times this way, and then they went 1 time this way. That's when they reported, we're going to ditch this airplane. As they're heading that way and they're doing their brief between the crew, they said, you know, there's this island off there, and we can't even see the runway, we can't see the island. Let's go back the way we did the first time. They did that. They briefed the passengers, put vests on people, they got the rafts out and briefed the rafts, and then they flew that original heading and landed in the water. Thankfully, landed very well. And it was particularly compromised because it was a heavy sea state, I think like 6 to 8 feet. It was dark and it was stormy. He still was able to land that airplane safely, did not invert. The captain came out of the cockpit. This particular airplane, a west wind, has exits on both sides. He went back and opened aircraft left and got out. The patient, the doctor, the nurse, and the companion, who were still in there, so the doctor opened the aircraft right exit and got out with the patient and the friend. And at the very end, the co-pilot came to. And by now, it's filled with water, swimming, and going out, and got out. All of them got out, no serious injuries. They were all picked up. It was a little bit compromised because as they had reported, they were going to go over here and ditch, but instead they went this way and ditched. So the rescue group is launched. They're all getting the boat out and doing all this. One person who was going with the rescue group did not go in the truck with the others. He went in a different way on a coastal route the other direction of the island. And as he's driving along, he sees this light in the middle of nowhere in the dark, little tiny light, gets out and looks to be sure, calls the boat, says, don't go where we think we need to go. Go 180 degrees. They did and picked them up within an hour, which was a good thing because that airplane sunk so quickly. The batteries that operate the aircraft ELT must have been disabled because there was only one signal to get out. So they would not have had a good fix on where that airplane was. The captain, none of the crew, got the life rafts out, so they didn't have any emergency locator transmitters. They did all have vests on again, and because they were picked up quickly, there wasn't a hypothermia issue, and they all stayed together. So it was a successful outcome. But the bottom line is this stuff can happen in modern aviation, and the key is that you are prepared. So it leads us up to what does that take? And it takes training, and it takes familiarity with what you have, because so many people I talk to, they'll take training, and that's a wonderful thing. You should do it on a regular basis as you would do anything that's really important to maintain some kind of competency. But in conversation, as we were preparing for this presentation actually, I was talking to different crew members and what did you have on your airplane? And I get the typical response. We've got that yellow one, you know, it's under the sofa. Or, no, we've got that like Tupperware box, it's white, and it's kind of in a cabinet. And, all right, well what is that? Is that a Winslow Raft? Is it an Eastern Air Marine? Is it an Old Revere? You know, what brand is it? I'm sure it's what we trained on. We go into a little more discussion about it, and you realize they really don't know what they have. So let's say if you were in that situation, and you've trained forever on that first raft. You've seen it, you've been in it, you know how to climb into it, you know how the survival kit's supposed to look, you know what you're going to do if the worst comes to worst. And then you open it up, and it doesn't look like that. As I said, the more typical version of this raft comes not with a canopy that inflates, it comes with something that's just a big piece of material, and you have aluminum stakes about this long that you have to put in certain positions and then spread this tent on top of it. If you've never seen it before, it would be tough. It would be very difficult. And reading the manual at the last minute wouldn't be the time to do it. It is key that you know your equipment. Take some time. Another conversation we had just last night, they said, well, I always want to do that, and I always tell the flight crew that we need to look at this stuff. And they would say, don't touch it, don't touch it. That thing may blow up in the airplane. The raft should be able to be slipped out of its compartment. I'm not saying manhandle it, throw it around, but you should be able to slip it out of its compartment and look at it. See what the brand name is. Every single raft valise, that's the yellow bag, will have a pocket on it, and the white boxes do too. They'll have a pocket on it that is open-ended because you're supposed to be able to pull out the document that's tucked in there. And that document will have a complete printout of what is in your survival kit. It'll tell you what kind of ELT you have, because some transmitters are actually in the survival kit, not mounted on the raft. It depends on what you have. So pulling out that card is great pre-flight type stuff, particularly if you're going to different airplanes. If you're a contract person doing different models, or even the same model but different companies, they can all be so different. Take the time to learn your equipment before you really need it, because the key success in all of this is that you are completely prepared with a thorough pre-flight. It's by having a thorough pre-flight that you can have better control of the situation, you have better control of your passengers, and therefore that's what results in a successful survival rate. And with that,